Okay, folks, we are sitting at 7:01. We have in front of you the agenda for the committee of the whole on June 10th. For those here and in online, our meetings are recorded for public viewing, placed on a publicly available website. The meeting link is not at the top of this agenda. Would you do it with the minutes?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So that's me calling to order. We will recognize and acknowledge that we are grateful to work, live, and play on the unceded First Nations land of Ehatasat Chiniki territory. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second that.
And there's no additions or any deletions or seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Delegations and petitions. Thank you for that. So we have Cindy Rogers here about the community hall refrigerator and school business. Before we get going, I just want to remind us that when you've already got your name because we said it there. Usually it's name and address. You get 5 minutes to make your presentation to council. Then council can ask questions of you on your presentation. We may take action. If not, then the CAO will inform you if it's something that needs to get put on another agenda. So I will turn it over to you for your 5 minutes.
Okay. As a local volunteer, sure our community has food because we have a lot of poverty here. There's a lot of poverty. So in my last 5-6 years of doing 4 or 5 years of doing food bank, one of the things that we also went through here was the longest power outage in BC ever. And I remember working on it, putting a lot of work into that. The one thing I noticed about that was that the refrigeration of the community hall was deeply lacking. There was one large cooler, but it leaked every time it was plugged in, and it made a hell of a racket. I just write grants. I like to help people, so I wrote a grant, and I got $13,000 and asked if I could buy you guys a fridge, and you said yes. So I would like to arrange a time where I can transfer ownership of that fridge over to you guys, and then I can complete my grant application with some pictures and stuff like that. I apologize. I just got back today from Red Deer. So I'm just a little tired. So I am seeking a chance to give you guys the receipt for the fridge. Is it hooked up or anything yet? It is? Okay. And at the same time, I'll take some pictures so I can submit it to the United Way. Okay, so that's the first part. I also have a little bit of money left over for the crop, and I was going to buy bins from Costco, not Costco, from Cabela's, and then write their names on it so that if we do have another massive power out, you guys have a generator. And the meat that we lost thousands of dollars in that last, and the produce, and there's so many things we ran out of. So these bins, I'm hoping that can be community members can use, and we can put their names on it, and then if we do have a power up, they could use that refrigerator with these individual bins, so they can put their meat and their cheese and their milk and their baby formula and that their produce and whatever. So I'm hoping you guys will agree to that. Of a couple $100 on. The other fridge went to the fridge. That's not you guys. That's separate. So I did get 2 fridges with it because they also have issues with losing produce and poverty and stuff. So that's the first part of my presentation.
Did you want questions now, or did you want to continue on and then do questions at the end? Because we've got 2 more minutes left.
Oh, okay. I'll go there.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know me, I spent 30 years as a trauma counselor in Quebec, BC, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Scotland. And one of the things when I was hired here to help out, I was hired as a teacher here, and I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact that I was physically assaulted twice at the school, to the point where I was PTSD and had to walk away from it. Now, the other teachers who have been physically assaulted at the school, because there has been a number of them, they went the lawsuit. So they sued the school division and, for thousands of dollars. I really decided I didn't want to go that route, that I would rather go to a healing route. And so I am here asking for your support. So I'm working with Victoria Wells, and we need to start healing in this community. When children see the adults fighting, what happens to children if the parents are getting divorced? What kind of damage is done to those children? There is multi-generational trauma from residential school, and the kids and the parents get together and they sit there and they condemn the teachers and they condemn the school system and they find fault with everything. And so those children come to school and they come to school pissed off. So as a Maquinna, as a white teacher, when you try to set boundaries, you were attacked physically, mentally, socially. I've been accused of acting like it was residential school. I've also been accused of letting the kids do whatever they want. At the same time, you need to understand, I've been punched. I've had my hair pulled, like a whole bunch of stuff. Words have the power to heal. Words have the power to hurt. So I have approached the school and I've approached Victoria, and we would like to change the name of the school. We need to start on the bottom floor. We need to start with language, and we need to start with culture. So I am here asking your support for the children to be able to change the name of the school. Zeballos is not relevant. 97% of our students are First Nations. They need to take ownership, and it doesn't need to be a fight. So please, I'm asking for your support.
Thank you so much for that. That was well done.
You told me what I had to do. I'm just gonna do that.
And I'm gonna open it up to council, but I also want to recognize the pain and the hurt that you've suffered in the community at school. So I'd like to honor and recognize that first of all. And thank you for being so open and honest with us. And I'd also really like to recognize your contributions to the health and well-being of this community. I know that there have been multiple instances where you have done food boxes, where you have gotten fridges, tried to do a holistic and healthy approach to the community. There were dance, exercise classes. I just want to appreciate the fact of you volunteering like in that way for this community. So first of all, that's what I'd like to do. And now I'm going to open it up to council. If there are any questions about either of those topics, the fridge or the intake. Councilor Copeland.
Totally. I just had a question about the name change. I mean, is it going to be significant effect on anything in particular, or is it enough?
It's a start.
And where do you see it going from there?
Language and culture, because there's such a division between this side of the bay and the other side of the bay. I mean, I have been privy to incidences where Iadasad has walked into the school and said, basically this is ours and you can basically have off. We're going to decide everything. They're not going to have anything to do with us. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Because we've all experienced that here, but behind that is pain. Behind that is anger. And so when you change the name of the school to something that they that we all want, you start a healing process. Like I said, words can heal, words can hurt. So we need to do some healing. So where do I see it going? As far as I know, in order to change the name of the school, we have to get a letter together. Everybody has to agree on what it is. The kids are going to decide. The only criteria that I've got so far from the school is that it needs to be easily pronounceable. But I'm not going to go there. Anyway, so I want to start a healing process. Wherever we go, I just know that things are really bad when you have teachers that come here for 3 months or 6 months and then have to leave in the middle of the night because they're so terrified and they have PTSD. People think that when a 12-year-old goes off on you and starts pulling your hair and punching you in the face, and because it's a child, it doesn't have an effect. It does have an effect. It also has an effect on the other children that watch it. Because abuse is abuse is abuse is abuse. Whether you see it, whether it happens to you, whether you hear it, it has the exact same consequences. And multi-generational trauma has been proven to last 3 generations. It shows up in the 3rd generation, and I can explain it. Give me an hour. Anyway, so yeah, I wanna have better feeling and more feeling and support for each other in our school.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, it's long.
No, it's good, because I didn't know much about it. So it's good information for me to ask. So thank you very much.
Through to the other members of council, questions, comments, Councilman Lewis. I'm curious to the support group that possibly starting with Vicky. Is that something that's going to be started?
It's already started.
It's already started.
It's already started. Her and I came to an agreement a couple of weeks ago. So it's already started, but her husband is he's got it yet. He's got it? Oh, thank God. So she was off on that. Yeah, I before we start the process, I mean everybody has to be on. Yeah. So that's what I would ask. Everybody has to.
Sure.
Councilor Denise?
With everybody.
The school, the parents, the town, every community member, every house, every Chineke, every chatlet, we all have to agree.
Yeah.
Really get done, you know?
And what, how do we make sure that everybody's agreed?
I don't know. I don't know.
Cool.
I mean,
That's fine.
did we have an online vote? Did we have?
It's a valid question.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
If you haven't gone that far, then it's.
No, I haven't, but other than people saying, make sure it's pronounceable. I haven't done it. And again, I'm not gonna proceed in this support, because that's not gonna do anything but cause further.
Yeah, I think change is an amazing thing. I think change pulls in change.
Well, and
It ends up being a healthy thing as people get a new space, it's an opportunity, and that kind of opens their mind and their soul and their body, and they can have an opportunity to change, to be different, to be better. You know, I also work at a school, as you know, and I preach constantly about purpose, being better, and making changes in their individual lives. Purpose is the big banner. That's what I constantly talk about. purpose. And, I'd love to see it tied into purpose. Having purpose, individual purpose, group purpose, and that's what I think is gonna help everybody to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, especially the purpose that you're talking about, especially either from the angle of family, right, and community, children's well-being, because everybody wants their children to succeed, and the children really, I do believe the children, our children. Well, you guys do attention sometimes when you all, I mean, ask me first two personal questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Further from council? I don't see anything. I definitely appreciate you coming. I think at the beginning, first part of your presentation about the fridge installation and photo shoot and all of those kinds of things and how to sign it over, that would go through the CAO for sure. So all you need to do is give him a phone call, send an email, anything like that, set up a time to get you access. I would assume that that would be an allowable thing that would be for her grant finishing purposes, completing purposes.
Well, and coordinating with members of council for the photo.
Yeah, because it's important that everybody is there. Yeah, like even the people that helped move it. The people that were there, so it's awesome.
Perfect. Okay, thank you for that. And then, Councillor Copeland.
Thank you. Does the provincial government have anything to do with it?
The fridge?
The changing of the names or
No. It's school division.
school division?
Yeah.
Have they been approached with this concept?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm here duly elected school board trustee.
How are they feeling about it?
Really good.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, I have. The recognition of the healing. Zeballos is, if I can speak as your school board trustee, your duly elected school board trustee, Zeballos has always been kind of a hotbed. Okay, teachers don't stay here, and there's a lot of violence, and and a lot of addiction and stuff. So education in Zeballos has always been a bit of a thorn in school SD84 side because of the anger and the tension and you can't tell me what to do, you're white kind of thing, or the guilt of the white, like I can get into a whole bunch of stuff, but that's the only thing that we need to do is submit the name change to the school board, and then we as the school board vote on it. That's it.
Thanks.
Sorry. I got verbal diarrhea. Sorry.
It's good. Thank you. We appreciate that you come with the information that that we, yeah. So I don't know that we can do an official vote of if we're support. Definitely please send us a support letter once you get that done. Absolutely. And love to, answer any survey that you put out or whatever that looks like.
I just need, going forward, I just need to
and that I don't know how to accomplish except some kind of polling or something like that. You might even want to, this is just an off the cuff idea. I think that a public citizen can do a box stuffer at the post office.
Yes, no, I'm just
Possibly. So
I'm just asking the school organization to this municipality is, would you support this kind of an action? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking to do anything. I'm not asking. That's all I'm asking.
absolutely. And then so yeah, when that support letter comes out, definitely just send it to us.
That's not the way I just
Perfect. Thank you so much, CEO, for helping.
yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we're speaking a different language or something.
Perfect.
I'm more of a handshake. Be writing a support letter to you guys.
No, we would write a support letter on your behalf is what I meant. So please
Take
come
care.
and chat with the CAO. Please do.
Okay.
Because he will
So,
put it into councilese.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, I've already got a note.
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah, so both of those subjects.
I just,
You're
okay.
good. You're good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I need.
Thank you so much for being here. Thanks,
you.
thanks, Andy. Get some rest.
Yes. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, have a good evening. Do we receive that delegation? We need a motion to receive. And you'll put a
Yep.
report on both of those subjects. Perfect. That. Okay. So, next we've got minutes, which there is none. We do have business arising from the minutes. So, we're going to talk about Zeballos Parks and Trails. The staff has included a report. There's a map, a large map in front of you. I'm going to preamble this by, this is something that we don't do in local government at all, is have people from the community at the council table. So I talked to the CAO earlier about the path that we can navigate. So what we're going to do is we're going to treat you as sometimes we get contractors or specialists to come in and help us with things and give us information and knock around ideas and that. So that's how we're going to treat you. So it's first one that it's well, second on the agenda, so that you can go afterwards if you like, that you don't have to stay here with all of council for the rest of the meeting, or you can stay, absolutely, whichever you prefer. And also just a recognition that you're here and kind of an advisory capacity and not for a voting member or anything like that. So as long as that's clear, then yeah, I'm really excited to do this, to have this process and open for somebody from the community. It was really important for this council to have community input, and that's why we had gone through the process of the Parks Committee and trying to form that. And so I just appreciate your interest. So thank you. So on that note, can you speak to us about your report so that we all have a good understanding of it before we proceed?
Thank you, Mayor Coburn. Not a lot to add. I wasn't really sure what direction council wanted to go with this subject. So basically what we've prepared is just an initial discussion about all of the park places that we have available to us. And that's also including, there are a couple of park spaces that are outside our Zeballos jurisdiction. So, you know, Rhodes Creek, Resolution Point, and Little Espinoza, we can affect those parks, but they aren't within our jurisdiction, our governance jurisdiction. The rest, however, and it starts on page 6, are within our governance. So basically, staff would like some direction from council and our advisor on where we want to go in the next few years.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Just so everybody's kind of on the same page. And I like the fact that you gave us kind of a directory and also where our budgets are right now. So the directory, yes, is from page 6 to 9. And then the large map shows where those things are in the community. So thank you for that. I just wanted to ask, I have one question, and that was on the outstanding for trail expansion and remediation. Was that, were there specific projects that were earmarked for that?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing specific. It's going towards revitalizing the trails that we currently have. So over the last couple of years, we've done volunteer sessions where we've replaced some boardwalk, removed some boardwalk, done some remediation to the trails. I do believe, and I'm going to defer to our public works foreman on this. I do believe the plan for 2025 is to actually build some substantial boardwalk in the Little Zeballos Trail.
Yes, that is planned. And we'd like to even carry on into the estuary trails here. There's a lot of derelict boardwalks there that have taken a hit this winter that also need to be replaced.
So just one more question to Public Works Foreman, if I may. So the ones that are still existing that really could not be taken out, those are the ones that you're planning on redoing
Yeah,
this? Okay,
Yeah, rebuilding.
with that 41,000. Okay, perfect. Okay. So, to start us off, I guess we could, first, if it's okay with council, I just wanted to ask Mr. Ante about, his interests or what he sees or, the values that he, or the ideas he has to bring forward, if that's okay, and then that will give us some kind of a place to start, if that's reasonable, and not to put you on the spot at all, if you'd like to. And let us know kind of what your interest is, how, what you see, what you hear. That would be great. And if you wanted to use the map or the list or just free speak, whatever you'd like.
Well, we're gonna be rather general. Thanks for the opportunity. Because some of this is kind of new to me, okay? First of all, congratulations for putting this together. Quite impressed with it, okay? I want more time to peruse and get my orientation right. I've lived in this community for 8 years. And I see it grow, and I'm gonna say almost explode in the last few years. And I just know based on, I was the chairman of the advisory board for the town of Comox for a number of years way back, okay? And so we dealt there with development plans and that, and one of our big things was if there was gonna be a development, could we make sure that the natural parts of it weren't just taken over by someone's lot, right? That type of thing. So I've got quite a bit of experience there. And in this community, the potential is fantastic for what we can do, because nature is right outside that door. We don't have to drive 40 kilometers. And people are coming here already have, and more people that want to experience this. It'll be good for the economy, but it'll just be great too, where people can do their own thing, walk the trails or whatever. I've got a few ideas. I'll just wait on that. I'm a great idea guy, and I love brainstorming and putting down all the ideas, even though some of them is not a hope in hell. Okay, but I really believe in that, and so I can work with people on that. I wrote a few ideas down here, but it was mostly to do with volunteers liability, that type of thing. I know I've hit a few railheads on that one where I said, "Oh, I'll go do that." No, you can't. That sort of thing. So I do have some concerns there, because I think quite a bit of this, I see funding, but quite a bit of it will still be volunteers. And somehow that has to be dealt with. One thing I put before this council, and that was a few years ago, was Frisbee golf. And actually with JJ here, we looked at 2 sites. One was starting in the campground and going right out there. And we actually paced it out and had the whole thing figured out how it could happen there. But it didn't happen. But there's just one idea I have. My son, who worked in this community a number of years ago, lives in Cumberland. He's taken me to their frisbee golf and it's a hoot, right? You know, I loved it. And Vernon, my brother lives there. I've done it there. We could do it here too. I think I'll just leave it at that. I want to peruse this a bit more and that, and then sit down with people. It doesn't have to be this formal and just say, hey, here are some thoughts I have. Okay?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. And also recognizing your volunteer contributions when we do those trail maintenance and trail rebuilding. Definitely that is appreciated. We always like to appreciate our volunteers in here, so thank you for that. We will, those are released on the Thursday or the Friday before. So next time we have a committee meeting, the CAO, what does that process look like? Did you get in touch with Mr. Ante that something was on the agenda?
Yes,
And would you do that again?
yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So then we release them the week before, so you've got the weekend to have a look over it. And then I'm gonna, if it's okay with that, or if you're done, I'm gonna kind of go, I think probably, at council's liberty, maybe do kind of a round table. And see kind of where we at. I know that there is already, so the outstanding budget in here, will turn over to, we'll have in the summer probably. Is that what you foresee? Okay. And then, there's nothing really in, our parks, budget for 2025. So just kind of talking to council and seeing if there's new things, if there's old things, if there's things that we want to pursue. And we can move budgets. We do have the ability to move those budgets where we want, where we need. So yeah, I'm gonna do kind of a round table. I hate to do it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start because I'm gonna go first this time. So I know in the parks there have been quite a few projects that have never really gotten off the ground. The cenotaph is definitely one that really kind of highlights for me. And that is because we don't have a spot to do that. We kind of piecemeal that up at the cemetery. And it's been done like that for a few years because we just didn't have a place. So there is funding for that through the Veterans Affairs. I think it is, I've looked at it a million times. I think it's 50,000. The village can support in-kind work. So that's something that I really would like to see happen, before this term is over. That's just one of my kind of pet projects. And then there was also, yes, there was the frisbee golf that came to us. So, if there's a project that we want to do in town, it's about creating community and participation of community members. So if we'd like to dust that off, I believe it was in an agenda, but I'm not sure when. So maybe if the CAO could talk to Mr. Ante about when, I think that was probably 6 years ago. 5,
maybe.
okay, something like that, then that would be great. So if you could maybe kind of refresh your memory, or if Councillor Janice has the memory of the time frame of that, we can dig that out of the agenda. I think that we have to really consider what we're going to do on those boardwalks, because we know what happens to the boardwalks and everything that goes back to the earth. So materials and things like that, but that is an operational, project and understanding that. But that is one thing that I just wanted to highlight from my opinion, is the materials that we use really, really matter. Those trails were fantastic for 20 years, and then everything just goes back into the earth. So just putting that out there. And then the project of that in the estuary, with labeling medicinal plants and getting some of the kids from the school some language experts to talk about where they harvest plants in the estuary, what to be mindful of, where to maybe not go too much because it's a harvesting area. And I think that could be done in this digital area with QR codes that could maybe teach you what the language, I don't know what the parameters of that, but I know that those are all projects that have come up here before. So just wanted to kind of highlight those. As for new ideas, I think that seeing this with the budgets laid out for the new playground, the skate park does need to be resurfaced. So I think we're on the right track. It's just prioritizing where we want to go. So that's my starting off piece to get us kind of started. Anyone want to go next?
Sure.
Councillor Denise.
I think, the mayor here is right in line with pretty much what everybody's thinking. I think that their hierarchy or prioritization is huge. And that's our plan of attack is what we have to really think about first. If we do that, I think it will bring us success. And I think we can map out our stages to our success. And putting the bigger ones in the bigger picture and the smaller ones in the forefront. There's quite a few things to look at here. There's quite a few properties. There's quite a few assets, amenities, whatever. And I think we need to, there's a methodology, I don't know if anybody's familiar, it's called 5S. This is a Japanese methodology. And it's sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain, okay? So that's kind of like where we're at with the beginning, I think, right? Replace, replenish, redo, make better, so, like the mayor said about the skate park, that's a perfect example, okay? A perfectly usable space for children or whoever to skateboard and use a bicycle and scooters, but it can't be really used the way it is. Okay, so that's a great, whoa, that's a great example of he agrees, that guy.
The bird, yeah.
And so that's a perfect example of where I philosophize that we should start with things, right? So we take base work, existing structures, amenities, and that are dysfunctional and not up to date, and start with them. And that would include like making obvious boundaries where needed to the places that we want to change, right? So I think that's at the base of it. And then follow through with the newer projects in order of what we think is most fair, most important, most fun, most applicable to our community. And I think if we kind of follow a process like that, but I really put the emphasis on starting to deal with what we have first and what needs to be brought up to date. I have a firm belief Zeballos was behind or is behind on those things and has been for a long time. And if we can keep that cycle going forward of respecting the things we already own, bringing them up to a good place. So that's where I'm real passionate is at first. Follow on to the following projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Copeland.
The cenotaph, I looked at a whole bunch of options, but I have a whole bunch of questions to go with it. There's already a memorial down at the Foreshore Park for those that have deceased from logging, I think, and fishing, the working man. Workers Memorial, thank you. I don't want to overshadow that. And yet I don't think it's significant enough of an area to actually put a cenotaph there. There could be a spot down there, but it would overshadow the memorial because the memorial is so small, it's no place that as well. So I'm looking for other options. Like in front of the, in front of here was for one, but it's too beautiful here to change now. In front of the museum. In front of the library. But the foreshore is the primary, I think, place for it to be. Would have to overcome that overshadowing of the memorial, of the memorial. Yeah, because the money's there, the funding's there, the interest is there, and I think it should be high up on the list. I just need some information, or we need some information to carry on like a location. And that's just about all I have to say with that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. CAO, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to make you raise your hand.
That's okay, I'll survive. Just in speaking with some of these smaller ideas, I just want to reintroduce that the Protective Services has got funding to do a tsunami type sculpture. I know in the past that there's been a conversation about highlighting the space just next to it. I can never remember the two addresses, but it leads to the estuary trail. And so just in speaking of looking for a new place. Yeah, the easement right across from the library that goes to the cenotaph. There's been discussion in the past about a children's park. There's been a discussion in the past about information signs for tsunami. So that is a viable space that's currently being used. That does lead to another recreational outbound. So just in hearing, looking for spaces for a cenotaph or other park uses.
Thank you for that, for sure. And that's not highlighted on this map either, is it?
No, because it is just
An easement?
a road right away.
Yeah, so that's oh, it's marked, but it's not, it's right across from the library, the blank lot. There's a blank lot in there that goes to the easement that runs in behind the hotel. Okay. So just so you know, yeah, that blank area, yeah, so just that's another place to highlight that we could do some things. I think what we are, this is a great, Councillor Lewis, did you want to? Go ahead, okay. I think this is a great starting space, and I think what I'm hearing is that, if we could kind of break these projects up into bigger or smaller, I'm hearing what Councillor Denise is saying, what are existing, what are new, but if we could kind of reformat this in a little bit of, and maybe answer some of the questions. So cenotaph, what kind of funding, if Councillor Copeland, if you could share with the CAO what you've been researching and what that looks like, I will share the Veterans Affairs kind of grant that I have looked at, right? So maybe this is a really good introduction, and moving forward will be more of like an information gathering on possibles, what that is. Does that sound like a good way forward to council? Is to break those up, kind of modify this, get it, set it up in a different way, so it's like a strengths, like a SWOT almost. There's the strengths, where the weaknesses, what are we, and also taking into account your idea about that 5S. I've written that down, that kind of, what are rebuilds, what are existing, what are maintenance, what are, right? Maybe reformatting it in a different way would get us into a place where we can say, please make a recommendation to council to move these ones first, prioritize those ones. I think there's got to be a way of formatting it so that we can prioritize. And maybe that is a survey to council about where they're, or maybe that would make it easier if it was organized like that, to make a priority list. What are we thinking? I don't know how to move forward with this. This is what I'm having to see.
Thank you. It may be worth council's while to invite Kevin Brooks. He's a urban and rural planner, and has done several parks plans in the past. We may not want to pay him to do a parks plan, but maybe for a half an hour or an hour at the next committee of the whole to speak to council on what that looks like for a community.
I think that would be a great start.
I'm absolutely, and taking kind of what we know and reformatting it in a bit of a way with him, that would be great. That is our engineer from Maquinna.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the individual that worked on the official community plan.
Perfect, because he knows our community very well. He knows our spaces. He knows kind of what they're zoned for, what, yeah, that's a great idea.
If we could get him to help us. And then get a report from him about everything we talked about, and then that would be like a great standpoint, I think, for all of us going forward, because if he could get all our feedback in that hour or two. And then come back to us with a report, that would be the perfect platform. Because we're all kind of, the same thing. Like, we know what we like,
We're not urban planners.
not really.
And we've talked about, like, I mean, it is one of our strategic priorities, those trails and parks planning, but I don't think we need a parks plan to sit on a shelf. Like, we actually need to move forward, move these things through and say, this year, these are our this year, maybe it's just that rebuild of and then that takes that out of the conversation. Next year, there's move the cenotaph forward and do a survey on people's use of disc hockey, like disc golf, right? So to break them out into, and also some timelines probably would be good to help us as well. So if we could get some costs, some big projects, some small projects, what of those are big and small in here? What's purely maintenance that will just get done from way of working through the plan, the work plan of the public works, and what are some small, maybe biteable projects that we could attach onto it and see if there were timelines or any dollars available, possibly not even in our budget, but if there are grants for placemaking or things like that. I know iced tea, the
Makerspace.
yeah, those are for downtown revitalization, make this space usable. Maybe there's an opportunity to do just an information kind of space between on the right of way. That would include the tsunami, that would include the tsunami information and the map. That would include the tsunami sculpture and the cenotaph. It might be a good place to gather. Maybe we can hit a few of these off in one. Might be, I know that there was some discussion last time about putting a park there, that it maybe wasn't, safety wise, but all the things are on the table. So, Councillor Denise, sorry.
So, there's 3 or 4 things here that we could definitely put forward. Want to get a head start, or we sit down with somebody and collect their information and regurgitate it to us properly. And so I think that trail mediation is something that something that's been ongoing, that we have some money for, that everybody agrees on quite a bit. Replacing old boardwalks so that we have ones that work. Then they've got the skate park, big basketball area that both need to be done. Especially, I think that the surface on the skate park is something I'm pretty passionate about. Because how can you have a skate park if it doesn't have a good surface? It's just, and then the making the boundaries aware for our future work. So, like places where village have kind of encroached a little bit and spread their things in a little. If we can, I think if we start by saying well, here's where it ends, guys. So just so you know, as a preliminary to get them warmed up for the fact that some more things are coming. So that's our list. I think that we could all agree on and move forward on without even really having any more discussion.
Absolutely, and those are all contained in the budget, so it'd just be a matter of amending the budget and maybe moving a couple of them over a bit, depending on capacity so I'm sure that will come back in the report to us as the capacity of Public Works as it stands, and now we have a new and summer employee that maybe take a bit of the heat for at least maintenance stuff off, so then it could be more I'm not sure, right? So, right?
Cool.
That would be great if we could have that information.
Mhm.
Councilor Lewis.
Two other spots for the possible cenotaph. One by the big wheel. Just across from the.
Was that Rotary Park on here? Yeah, the parkette.
Is it the parkette?
Yeah, it's on the parkette.
Yeah. There's just a planter there and the big rotary wheel bit there.
Oh, no, then it's not.
By the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, near the bridge. Yes, it's basically across.
Yeah, I think it is, because that's where the bridge is.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's just not on here. Yeah.
And another one is where the old general store was. There's I think holly trees and stuff like that are there.
The right of way as well, or an easement.
They're an easement, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that spot as well, could be possible for okay.
I think that's where the garbage can is.
Mhm.
Is it? Yeah. No, I mean, that's not to say
Yeah,
that that's not that's not what I'm saying. I'm just
Yeah.
to bring it to everybody, the location, that's where
Yeah,
the garbage can, the big holly tree with the garbage can, yeah,
Yeah.
that's where that is.
yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't
Yeah, no, I
doing
completely-
anything, or I was just trying to wrap everybody's head around the location.
Completely forgot the garbage bin.
Yeah.
Some type of location, you know, I think one of the biggest things that's happened in Zeballos in a long time is that bridge.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense to me that, you know, on the east side of that bridge, on the approach.
Yeah.
You know, it could be nestled down in there on the approach to the bridge in a place that's like very obvious and kind of overlooking like straight at the waterway, straight down. And I feel like it's gonna be like a kind of a, you know, a newer item, you know, it's gonna be kind of more modern cenotaph probably. That's how I envision it, and it would probably complement the bridge, complement each other, right? And that's kind of like a newly developed valves. It's probably not gonna change too much.
It's just sort of you later.
So that's my input for the same.
Councilor Lewis,
I'm curious now, would we be putting a flagpole in as well?
that would go hand in hand.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just, to me, you know, if it was at that where the rotary wheel park is, or whatever you want to call it, to have that flag there as people are coming into town.
The bridge is right
Very
here
close to the
somewhere.
entrance to town.
Right. And that's kind of the Anselm area too, you know.
I do worry about, anything to do with that little parkette. I worry about the dike clearing that we were never allowed to do, that we're trying to do, that we're can't work in a riparian zone, that we can't, it's probably right in the development permit area. We can't put any machines in there, like, so that's one thing that I do worry about is that area. But, absolutely, it would make it great. I know that all the walks happen at least to the bridge from both sides, like that it is kind of the building bridges project, right? So, yeah, definitely. Parking can be an issue in that area, but I mean, really, it's valid. But you never know what's gonna happen in November, people. It's gonna be, you know, that river's gonna be 70 feet high, and you know, if people are parking to get out there and actually go to an event, it's a lot of stuff to consider for sure. Yeah, Councilor Lewis, sorry.
And to me too, if we were having an event, the event would probably be at the hall if you're meeting for coffee or whatever on that particular day. I know a lot of people just go to the pubs and stuff, or wherever you're going to meet. So if it's the Rangers or if we have a cenotaph, we could probably have the RCMP in here as well as regular Greg Force. And we would walk then from there to there, and I would assume that a lot of the, you know, except for the elderly, et cetera, would not have to take the vehicles. Just walk there, have a ceremony, and then walk, return. That was my thought on that, at least it's close.
Well, they're all considerations and they're all within the purview of this council to decide. But I think that, yeah, if we can have it organized in a better of a, in a bit better of a, not better of a format, because this is perfect for information. I thank you for that. But a little more of a cohesive following on what you've heard here tonight. Do you have enough from us to put it in an order or? For sure.
I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you could get Kevin to come in and speak with us, that would be great too. So our walking orders is for Councillor Copeland to get you some information about that cenotaph. And I will forward you the VA one that I have. Anything that comes up in the next maybe week or so, contact the CAO after having this conversation. And then we'll have a further report coming, which is more of a prioritization of what we want to see. Also knowing that these things are already in the budget and we may just be wanting to move some things forward depending on what our public works time. Sound reasonable way forward, folks, on this subject?
Mr. Yancey's gesture needs to go.
That's why I was finishing up this.
Just wondering.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just finishing up the, so is there anything else? Please feel free to come in and talk to the CAO.
I will.
Yeah.
I just wanna get this in my head too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot to digest for sure. And we appreciate your coming and look forward to hearing your thoughts moving forward.
Okay,
Yeah, great.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dougie.
Thanks, Doug.
Have a good night, pal.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on to, is that everybody good with that conversation? Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
No final thoughts? Okay, great. So we are at Disaster Risk Innovation Fund. We have a report here from the CAO. So, questions or comments to the CAO? Or for discussion? This is a 501 conversation. Councilor Denise.
Yeah, I don't think this is very complicated. This is exhausted. This conversation and you know, if we can't get the money one place, we've got to try to get it another, right? I mean, that's just where we're at with the whole project. We need that's what, right? I don't think there's anything here we need to speak about. Does anybody else?
So
There are, Councilor Copeland, yes?
there's some options here that they've been decided upon.
The, no, not at all. So that's kind of direction as well that you'll want, that staff will want, going through this report. So, there's a 1, 2, 3 on the top of page 12. And then there's also, recommendations on the back. So, that's what we're here to discuss. Councilor Copeland, did you have anything further?
No, just a couple of questions because I'm not really clear on what structural thing that they used here. Yeah, without knowing what the organic materials are down below, it's hard to figure out a plan. I mean, 3 sounds like we're getting away with something quick and easy, but it's about fast. 2 uses bridging materials. I'm not sure what bridging materials. And a lift, armoring and a lift. I'm not sure what those things are. Does anyone?
Through to the CAF.
Thank you. We do have a feasibility study done that I can send your way. It lists out the soil contents and also speaks to the different methodology. So these methods come from that feasibility report that Maquinna provided us.
So what he's saying is our engineer went through, and because in order to get money from any kind of government body, you have to have some kind of a feasibility study. Is it even feasible to do any fixes here?
Okay,
So the process was that they did some drilling, they core sampled those cores, found out where the levels were of what kind of debris, whether it was woody debris or rock or what that looked like. And then from that, feasibility study, is it even feasible to fix it? It's kind of how I look at it. This is what they came up with. So, I mean, there are three options here. But the recommendation reads that, so it doesn't have a stipulation in here from the 1 to 3. So further to that, what was the one that was recommended?
The moderate removal of the organic material. So in the report, you'll see that going down to like hard pan would be so significantly expensive. It's not anything we could ever afford in our lifetime, because it's essentially going down. How deep was that drill? Do you remember, before they hit anything solid?
Basically, there is no hard pan there
There
because it's all like open
fluid,
oil.
yeah.
Like it was built on what was the ocean.
So it was
It wasn't there before, so it was all filled in on that.
It's the estuary that was filled upon.
Yeah. So not recommended. It just and even just disposing of that amount of material in our area would be so expensive.
There's always silt, right? Like,
What they've recommended as the best option, but still expensive, and so we would need to stage it, is the moderate removal. So 1 to 5 meters of removal, the armoring, the bridging, and then a formable gravel top. Because no matter what we do, there's going to be sediment. So putting more asphalt on there is just going to eventually end up, where we're at. And then if we don't have a lot of money to do anything through grant funding, then that third option is basically just take off the asphalt and a layer and bring in some new clean gravel and just keep forming it year after year to shed the water.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just kind bridging is just a term when they use like from the best soil to the best soil, and they use geotextile cloths and other proper material on top of that, and then it kind of makes it a better surface.
like cloth and material, and what about the armoring?
Armoring. The armoring is where sorry, go ahead.
No, I think
You just said it, yeah, so they just reinforce it, essentially, that's all you're doing is reinforcing what's there. They would take that top, it's not concrete or pavement, it's
Asphalt.
yeah. Anyways, they would take that off, just kind of, just refill it, essentially, is what they would do, just refill from there. And then put a material on top that would take it from, I'm thinking the armoring or the, what's that called? The bridging would come from where the parking lot would be to the 501. That's where they would have to bridge.
Something like
Not bridge like building a bridge, but bridge from one material to another material.
Gotcha, I'm just trying to get out of getting another book.
well done.
And then so under this application, is that what we're going for? Is that secondary option? Because that was what was recommended from the engineers.
That a council decision, but yes, that would be the most appropriate for the amount of money that's available.
Perfect. Thank you for that, because that's what I was gonna ask. And if we were successful, would it still have to be a stage project and we would still need more to finish it? And how would we kind of go about that? Would we do it in partial and partial? How does that work?
That's going to take some engineering work, because the rest is involving private land leases, and considering what those leases used to be, Likely some significant soil remediation or brownfields, because there is historic, fuel use in the remaining amount. I don't have the class estimates yet from the engineers, so I can't really say, how far this is going to take us in staging. The reason we brought this forward on a committee of the whole is because we need to submit an expression of interest 14 days prior to the application deadline, which means that we would have to do that this week.
Okay. Thank you for that. And is there an option if we found that the projects were to complete project 2 was too strenuous on the other properties, meaning there would be a significant height difference in those and the leased properties? Or alternatively, so we wouldn't want to do anything that would cause runoff on those other properties or anything like that is kind of what I'm saying. Doing the least intrusive. I know that it says the last one is the least intrusive option, but if we found that there wasn't a way to work with those other properties, then could that be modified to do that third, or would it be a full new application, that third option, or would it be a full new application?
Are you talking for the second stage?
Yes, right, so
Because this first stage is just primarily for the asphalted area.
yes.
So a second stage, yeah, we would definitely have to have the engineers look at it, so.
What do you mean the asphalted area? You mean parking lot?
Yes,
Thank you for that, because I thought this was the entirety of 501, and that's why I was wondering about stages, if you do part of it, and then another part.
yeah, so this would be stage 1 is the asphalted area, because that's the least impact and the easiest to do.
Yeah.
And also the biggest issue right now, it's where most of the flooding's happening.
Yes, perfect, thank you
Yeah.
for that. Okay, sorry, that was a whole bunch of questions that I had, and I appreciate the answers. And anybody else? How are we? Will we get rid of the car wash?
No, we're gonna keep that.
Oh, no. And of
Wash
course,
the salt water.
of course, the engineers, once this project gets underway, will be in contact with BC Hydro, who just tore that up and put in new lines and all of that kind of stuff. Perfect, thanks, because there's a bunch of new infrastructure down there that if we had have had our it ducks in a row. Trying to find a PC way of saying that. If we had our ducks in a row, we could have just built off of Benton, right? When they had it ripped up, we just didn't have enough information yet. We hadn't done those feasibility studies or anything. The last piece that I'm gonna ask then, because I didn't see anybody waving wildly, is the remainder. So the lease, remainder lease of 501 at the store, the gravelled area. That will be a second stage project that we'll be looking for further funding later on.
That's correct.
And through this process, will we be able to get enough information, do you think, from those leaseholder holders that will guide us in the direction that we need to go to do the least amount of damage? And not damage, but least amount of I don't know, ripple effects on the property owners down there?
Most of that information is already available in that feasibility study.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just, I know we have to do things, but I also don't want to cause infiltration water issues on anybody else's and then get taken. All right. As anybody else? Anybody want to move recommendations so we can come back to the council?
Recommend that the village of Zeballos apply to Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness under the Disaster Resilience and Innovation Funding Program to further enhance the village's ability to manage floodwaters and rising tides at community foreshore on this lot 501 using Maquinna Limited's technical drawings, and that village of Zeballos will provide overall grant management.
For the first, second, or third option.
The second option? Say yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm just looking around, making sure everybody's nodding their head.
You can put any option forward and we'll vote on it and you'll know. Perfect. So was there a seconder for that?
So I'll second.
Well, that was a pretty even tie. I'm gonna call that Copeland. Yeah, he had my ear right here. He's closer. I heard it first. Questions or comments? Hearing, oh.
Do you want me to read the second?
We'll do it, so we'll do it, it's a separate one, yeah, for sure. I had one more question. The turf one?
Yes.
Okay, no, I'm good. What was the next one? Thank you. So any other questions from anybody? All in favor? Moving forward on the recommendation out of the feasibility study. Any opposed? That is carried. And then the second?
That in the case that the project is not funded through drift, that staff prepare an application under strategic priorities fund to further the village's chances at funding success.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Denise. Questions, comments? I had one. The strategic priorities fund, is that the other one that has, that we were looking at for, it's a larger one that we had more options to do, wasn't it? Was that the one that what had the refitting of the, like the H, or not the,
Would you like me to speak on?
please, thank you. See, could you help me put words in my mouth about the community home project with the heat and the,
So that is under the draft, the Disaster Risk Innovation Fund. So
Okay.
that if council had not
Yeah.
approved the lot 501, then the HVAC was an option under this Disaster Risk Innovation Fund. The Strategic Priorities Fund is the big one that funded the bridge.
Rich, okay, perfect.
And they have two streams that are options for us. And that's due at the end of September. So it's lot 501 if it's not successful under this DRIP program. And there's also a planning component, which is a completely separate funding that you can apply for. And given some new information, my recommendation likely will be to council that we apply for planning funding to do the east side sewer.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that. I had them mixed up, then I had them backwards. Thank you. All right, so on that second recommendation, that in case the project's not funded through DRIF, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. CAO Nelson Smith.
Thank you. I've been in discussions with Sean Koopman. I think I need to speak to somebody at EMCR. He has told me that we would have better success with this grant if we did it as a regional application. However, Gold River is doing an HVAC system and New Chabot is doing a different project. My conversation with him was I wasn't entirely certain how, a flood remediation project connected to an HVAC. Coming forward with these recommendations to the June 24th meeting, I will have spoken with EMCR to see if we would have better success regionally. I don't see how we could because it's a completely separate project from what the other two communities are proposing.
And so that was to do with this next, the government climate action plan report?
No, this
To tag on to that.
with this, yeah.
I will tell you that, I don't know if there's still pumps into the community hall,
So
pumps,
for the flooding,
water infiltration. that may be the only thing that I could think of, because we are on the floodplain and we have had some pumps under that building for as long as I can remember. That may be that linkage, but, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that forward, because that was actually, so the next thing that we're on right now is the local government climate action plan funding use options. And that was going to be my actual question, is if we've had that. Okay, so I'm going to introduce this. So this is moving on in the agenda. This is 8.1, the local government action plan alternative uses. This lays out money that we still have remaining that has to be spent. It also leaves or it also alludes to other monies that are coming in. So we have a total in that climate action reserve of 134,271. We've got a proposal in front of us from the CAO, and that was actually going to be one of my questions, is we've had this is kind of a new project. I know it has been talked about before on the budget, but why would we not just use this for the HVAC system because of our cooling, our heating? So that's been on our books since the heat dome, essentially. So for a bunch of years, and this is kind of a new project. So that was my question of why weren't we pursuing that project first for this funding?
Thank you.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right?
Absolutely. I'm not sure that HVAC was outlined in the 5-year financial plan. So we chose something that council has already put in the 5-year financial plan, which was this electric truck.
Perfect. Okay, thank you for that. So other questions, comments?
Sure.
Councillor Janice.
So we have $134,000 in this, correct? And this new vehicle is 60,000. So what's happening with the rest of the money?
Thank you. We still have several years in which we can spend it. So
Oh, you?
Yeah.
So my second part of the question. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to charge this vehicle. No, it's just plugging. Maybe it says that in here. It does, but the reason why I asked that is, do we need 2 of them? Like, is this something that is gonna be really useful? Like, it seems to me that, well, and I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up. I see a lot of like big expensive gas and diesel powered vehicles we use as our in our public works department running around town. And you know, they don't do that well. They don't do that stop and start and not run for long periods. So the reason I'm asking is like, do we want to like think about maybe getting 2 of these? Because there's more than one person working in public works all the time. And it would seem to me that it could be a smart investment for the community. I mean, the money's here. They don't take any fuel to run them. We can plug them in and use them constantly. I mean, I guess that would be a question for public works, but it, you know, is the jobs we're doing really, are they mostly just running around and using small tools? And it seems like it might be that.
Through the CEO or however you.
thanks. I'll speak on first and then pass it on to our foreman. So I actually used to drive one of these trucks. In Alert Bay with 18% grades, I could typically get a full day out of a charge. And to answer Councillor Janice, it is literally just a 110 volt extension cord plug-in, and they supply you with an adapter for their battery banks. Now, as for the question, do we need 2? That would be a difference too.
I think what you're saying with using the clear trucks and vehicles that we're using to run around is yeah, we're doing lots of times like watering plants and doing maintenance around here and pulling a little more around where we don't need to be using this big dump truck at all. And so it is a waste of fuel. Hard on the equipment to do the stop and start thing. I think that's why we're looking at this option for this electric vehicle. I think that'd be a perfect fit for the public works department to be way more fuel efficient, bring down our cost in gas. The way these things are built, they're not super designed like a Tesla or something like that. There's very basic parts that come from Napa for turn signals and lights, and they're very easy to work on from all the research that I've done to fix yourself. They're not kind of the way these manufacturers are going nowadays, where you have to go to them to fix stuff, or you have to get a tech to fix it. It's like very basic, and I think a very cool design. Yeah. And I think that yeah, lots of times we are going separate ways to try and get different tasks accomplished, and there could be the use for two for sure.
I just looking at the leftover funds, there's almost exactly enough money there for two. So, I mean, if it is a council initiative and there are 3 people on staff with public works, right? You know, and I notice you know, after work, a lot of times you end up taking the public works truck home because, you know, you need to. And, you know, that would be the perfect little vehicle to run around, do almost all your personal, you know, getting yourself around, you know, in the morning, in the afternoon, when you go home, and we're not running those big trucks around. It seems like really smart to do that. If we could consider just buying 2 right away.
I had Councillor Copeland first and then Lewis.
100% guaranteed, agreed with you, both of you. I had that question in my mind to come here tonight and ask that question, as a matter of fact. If you're buying one, why not buy 2? They're so practical. And if you're gonna have to implement the charging station, then you might as well have more than one to offset the cost. Absolutely, 100% support.
Cool.
Councillor Lewis.
There's 2 different styles. Would they have 2 different uses? Like if you got one of each, is that the?
I would have to do a bit more research, but I do remember saying there being quite a few different styles, and almost like you could, I think, build them kind of your specification of what you wanted. If you wanted to flap it, if you wanted to dump it, if you wanted a dam style, if you wanted like, I think there were lots of different options to build them for airports and public works departments and all different types of stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, the little dump style for stuff, if you're doing coal pack and different things like that, I mean, that's all you need. You don't need, you know, say you're running the backhoe, you know,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, right?
So just brought it up on the screen.
Garbage collection.
Yeah, they're made in Irvington, so locally sourced. The truck. I do believe this company is also the same company that built the electric Zamboni for Port McNeil.
Interesting. Questions or comments? While you're perusing that, I have a couple. If we are doing, so this is only for like this is for reducing greenhouse gas. Essentially.
Yes.
I didn't come here with the option or the question of doing 2. I was actually kind of wondering if we were moving on this too quickly. And the reason why is because if we were going to reduce GEGs, I would think instead of doing it within our own, that we would do it in a more public manner, right? So allowing for electric charging for vehicles, so an electric charging vehicle station or something like that. I'm also just really conscious of the dollars that we've put into our fleet for public works in the last little while, and there's quite a lot. So we've got these vehicles that we're leasing and that we're using, and that we have the complete opposite problem of everybody else in the country. We're not using the kilometers. They run them. It's like our fire truck has, I don't know how many 1,000 kilometers on it, like,
Not very many.
right? And so we don't use them very much, right? So we've already got the dump truck and the public works truck, and then we're buying another truck. It just seems in really short order, which is good for us, but that's only 2 vehicles out of the community. And if we could do something like the HVAC or an electric power boosting station, then I was wondering why we wouldn't do that first. I am the odd man out and I'm also always devil's advocate for sure, and I'm just bringing it up as for comments. That's all I'm doing. I know that it's in our budget and I know that it's an item that we did talk about and we discussed and we added in our budget, but I was wondering if there was more value doing something that was a more public, more for use of the public kind of asset. That's all. Councilor Copeland.
Yeah, I think by using them, you're gonna not put the miles on the other vehicles, but is this the goal? Is to reduce the gas emissions? And if we're gonna go by that, then yes, I think we should set the example by doing it on a council level. As opposed to putting in a charging station for electric vehicles that aren't coming.
For sure. I just put it out there for conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Denise?
I definitely agree, like, you know, you mentioned something about leasing vehicles and these would actually protect our investment. Because running those less frequently in a stop and go situation is what's gonna help them. I mean, we look at the money we've spent on repairing things and that's gonna take away from it. It's gonna do, you know, it's not gonna impact the amount of kilometers we put in a truck around here very much. All those are mostly from driving in and out of town, right?
You only have 2 kilometers here really to.
Exactly, right? And as far as like a charging station for electric vehicles, I don't think anybody in Zeballos owns one. Oh, wait, one. And then I don't see too many coming to town. So. And the HVAC stuff, the fact to me more to this is like on our list.
Okay. So, we had I was just looking at the other purposes of what we have to use it for. So what year is this on our budget for?
2026.
2026, so it would just be moving it ahead. So we would have to adjust and then the bylaw or amend the financial plan bylaw.
That's correct.
Allocate them for that. And the procurement process. I also had a question about insurability. I think that it was mentioned in here, or was it not? Just because of the use of small vehicles around the village and the permits required to run said small vehicles and so can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. So our one in Alert Bay was insured as a commercial vehicle with restrictions because it only went to 30 kilometers an hour. So only within the community, which like Zeballos was 30 kilometers an hour everywhere. So it was not available for highway use. So there is a separate insurance that you get.
And does that include, so it would just be within municipal boundaries, does that include the EHADSAT reserve, or will you have to get a different designation for that to go over and say, fix I know the lift station isn't ours, but I'm gonna give that as an example.
No, the restriction is not highway use.
Okay, perfect.
So,
Okay. Good. So I would be in favor, definitely, of the recommendations that are in here. I don't know that I'd be in favor of getting 2 right off the bat with kind of an unproven and just there's 1 on our budget. But somebody wants to put it out there, feel free. I would prefer trying to do something with that community hall. I know that, I mean, it's already like this right now and it's hot in there. It's hot. So trying to put that, maybe putting that in next year's budget for something that could be acted upon in future years, because I know it has been on your reports for quite some time. And so just adding that piece on there, and maybe that's a use for the other funds, unless someone puts it forward that they wanted to buy 2. Councillor Lewis.
Do we have an idea, like if 60 was spent on one of the trucks and then the balance on on the hall, what does an HVAC system for the hall?
We haven't looked into it.
I know for a house, it was around 25,000. So I'm sick maybe for a hall, it would be, like, we might get one vehicle and the HVAC.
Did you have something?
No,
Oh,
you're shaking my head.
sorry, I thought I saw you motion, so I was. Okay, all right. So there are recommendations, or is there other further questions to the CAO? Or to Public Works? Yeah, Councilor Copeland.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. To CAO, I guess. Is it possible to sort out or source an estimate for the HVAC and then make the decision about how many we buy at that point? That if we can get both the HVAC and one vehicle, that would be superb. And if not, we could get two vehicles, which would be superb.
Through to the CAO, you can answer that for sure, but I think that because it's, through to the CAO.
Thank you. So just for council's reminder, we only have to spend 16,000 this year. So we do have lots of time to think about the entire 114,000. Absolutely, if council directs staff to look into the HVAC, then absolutely we'll do that.
Okay, would you want that in a motion?
Yes.
Okay. However you guys want to proceed, there's recommendations.
So
There's, Councilor Denise.
there's another factor, I think, here. Because it sounds like we're agreeing that two of these vehicles might be a good idea. So I would suggest we get an idea of what an HVAC system is gonna cost. I would suggest that we go to this dealer and say, if we're gonna buy two of these at once, is it gonna save us $15,000 or $20,000? Is that this is on the table that we need to. If it's not gonna save us any substantial amount of money to buy two at once, then we move forward and buy one. And then complete our task here, and we'll look at the other options. But if that's gonna save us that, quite a bit of money, then that'd be a smart thing to do at once.
I need some motions here, folks. That's what this all boils down to. So we've got a bunch of different ways here from the CAO's recommendations that you're containing here, which is great because it's come out of conversation and that's awesome. But,
So I'll make a motion.
okay, please.
I'm gonna move that we get pricing on two units, two electric mobile units for the Public Works Department.
Okay, so that's one.
And we get,
Or do you want them, would you like those separated?
However council would like to do them.
and we get an estimate on an HVAC system for next door, the hall, so that we can further make a decision on where we're gonna move forward.
Okay, so that the CAO provide us with information about two vehicles, the cost and the price of an HVAC system
Yes,
to see if that's appropriate for this fund.
that's where I'm at.
That's where Councilor Denise, do you have that?
Yes.
Should I, okay, right, what can you,
Yeah, that staff get pricing on two EV units and an estimate on an HVAC system for the community.
for use with this local government action program funding? Just so that can stand alone, if that's okay, can I make a friendly amendment to that,
Perfect.
just so that's just standalone?
Yep.
Do you need the funds before the 31st deadline in there as well, or no?
No,
Okay, just making sure that you, all right. And that, I don't wanna massage that too much, but I wanna, can I get a second? Second. Councilor Lewis, I had a question on how, I don't wanna hold this process up, the 60,000, it's already in the budget, we've already, were they pretty, do you know if they're pretty quick to respond? And what's it gonna take to get an HVAC person in here to come and do that? It's already June. I'm worried about the timeline that the 16,000 has to be spent before December 7th or 31st. I'm conscious of that. I don't want to hold the process up. So do you have any information on that?
Thank you. My dealings with him when I was in Alert Bay, he was very quick to respond. Now, with the push for climate change, I'm not sure how busy he is. I know Port Hardy just bought one. I happen to know somebody that works at Port Hardy who I will confer with and and see how quickly the turnaround was.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to, what I was gonna do is I was gonna add an amendment, you know, that the CAO, you know, bring it back to our next meeting or something like that, but you're gonna work as quick as you possibly can, and I know that.
Coming back anyways, if maybe the whole.
Right? Yeah. I worry about having that HVAC quote, because I don't know how busy those guys are right now either.
And for that, I can go to, like I said, Gold River's putting one in, so I can just call
I've
Michael.
got it. Okay, perfect. I don't want to hold it up before. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. So then the motion that we're voting on is, Councilor Denise and Councilor Lewis seconded it. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. So then you'll bring these recommendations back to us with, that look quite similar with just some more information.
That's correct.
Perfect, thank you so much. That was a great conversation, guys, thanks. What's next on the agenda, folks?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Yes,
Oh.
I'll second that one.
okay, Councilor Denise, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Looks like the CAO wants